Thank you for joining us for this special episode of JJTV. I'm Joseph James. It's such a special episode, I decided to have with you a little fireside chat. It was about this time last year that I traveled to Havana, Cuba. And when I got home, I did a video about my trip. The people there, the buildings, the land, and everything about Cuba. Except I left out a few things, because I wasn't sure that our viewers would be able to fully comprehend the experience that I had while I was there. When I first stepped upon Cuban soil, residents were milling about, artists drawing portraits of passersby, and musicians playing to empty cafes. But the one thing that first struck me when I arrived, and I started walking the streets of Havana, Cuba, is the muted feelings of desperation that residents had. You see, Cuba is a communist country. It's not by any stretch a free country. Vastly different than the America that we have grown to love. But when the COVID-19 scare started, I started to remember my experience in Cuba and about the way that they live in that country. Imagine a country where you don't have the First Amendment right to peaceably assemble. Imagine a country where you can't go to a concert or sporting event or gather in groups. Imagine a country where you can't protest. You can't protest against your government. Imagine a country where you can't go to the supermarket and buy what you want. You're told what to buy. Imagine a country where you can't buy as much of a certain item as you want. That's Cuba. And by the way, there aren't any supermarkets there. There's only markets run by the government. Shops run by the government. Everything is run by the government in Cuba. And there aren't any chain stores, no chain restaurants at all. Only shells of buildings that hang on after years of use and no renovation because there's no money. The government controls everything. Imagine a country like that. One other thing I'll mention, when I arrived in Cuba, I expected to be ferried about by a vintage 50s car, like a 55 or 57 Chevy. Well, they have those, but they're used as taxis for tourists who come to visit Cuba. Residents of Cuba don't drive cars like that. They drive cheap Chinese vehicles. That was the case when I was there, at least. See, we have a different image of Cuba than we're presented with. And until I went there, I couldn't fully understand. This is not a free country. Imagine a place where you're scared. Imagine a place where you can't go out, do the things that you love. Imagine a country like this.